Hey there guys, following on from my last lesson that I did about improvising on static harmony, what I want to talk about in this video is improvisation over changes. Now this is it's a really vast subject, and there's no way that you could deliver this in like one short YouTube video, but what I want to talk you through is the basics of it. Then I'll talk you through a number of ways that you can go off and then work on this even more with a bit of research and development. So first things first, we're going to take a chord progression. Let's do A minor 7, D dominant 9, F major 7, and then E7 altered. So it's kind of like jazzy stuff, but like you could also say that this is like a fusion-y style chord progression. Now what I would do is, first things first, you've got to be able to associate a particular scale that you want to target with each chord. So over the A minor 7, I want to target Dorian tonalities. Now when we go to D9, you could approach that as a D mixolydian chord. And D mixolydian is all the same shapes on the guitar as your A Dorian. But that kind of makes things a little bit easier for us. So here I want to get everyone thinking about the actual change. So instead of targeting D mixolydian, I want to change that up a little bit, and I want to get us targeting D Lydian dominant, okay? So we're really having to think about the change. So under your fingers, as you're playing around, A Dorian, that D comes in, you've then got to change your thinking so that you're actually hitting the right scale tones. So you could play all sorts of stuff on there, to be fair, but you know, I'm gonna target those notes. Then when we go to our F major 7, over that I want to be targeting F Lydian, which again is a different scale form. If you're thinking like some people, well, I'll talk you through this in a second, but yeah, it's a different scale form. So. And then on the E altered, do you know what I might play on this, because I kind of like this sound? I'm going to go for mixolydian flat 6. That's just, you could also on that, you could play the altered scale. There's lots of different scales that you can play on that, half whole diminished and all sorts of things. Let's go for the altered scale, because that's the one that would probably be the most common actually. I like mixolydian flat 6, but it works particularly well on an altered dominant sharp 5, and here I'm actually doing E7 sharp 9, E7 flat 9, so let's do an altered scale. Now, first things first, when you're looking at improvising on the changes, you need to actually just be able to play the scales. So I would work on, in any position of the guitar neck, just be able to play the scales that fit each chord. So with this is quite an interesting one. When I go to the mixolydian, that is the same shape as A Dorian. Same shape, it's obviously not the same tonal centre, so you're going to have to think from the D7. But the reason when I'm changing to D Lydian dominant, you can also think from the A if you want to. There's a whole thing here about derivative thinking and parallel thinking. If you're thinking from A melodic minor gives you the sound. It gives you it's the shape change and it's the sound of your D Lydian dominant. So that's one way that a lot of musicians will think like that. They'll think, oh, what's the derivative scale that it comes from? So D Lydian dominant derives from A melodic minor. So on this change, a musician is having to think, I am in A Dorian, but then when that comes in, if I now think A melodic minor, I can see the shape. It's just one way of doing it. A good way of doing it is also just to think from the chord, is to be able to see, okay, I'm now playing D Lydian dominant, but this is up to the individual really. So once you've gone into that, your F, you want to be able to hit F Lydian just in this position. I'm doing this with the caged system. And then straight into E altered. But first you've got to be able to hit those scales under your fingers wherever your chords are and all that stuff. Then once you can do that, what I talked about in the last video about this thing called the scale pyramid, you can look at all of the different things that you can extract. So you could play around that whole chord progression just using pentatonic scales. You could play around that whole chord progression just using a minor pentatonic, and it would work absolutely fine over all 4 of those chords. The reasons why we won't have time to go into here, otherwise this video could be really long. But what I would suggest to anyone who wants to get into playing and articulating changes, the very first thing that you should be able to do is in any one part of the guitar neck, be able to play the scales that fit the chords of the changes. Once you can do that, look at other options of tonalities that you can use. So, you know, if you like using pentatonic scales, look at clever ways of using pentatonics that outline your chord changes and all that sort of thing. Then develop vocabulary around it, and then spend 20 years working on it. And then you'll probably get good at it. It's a difficult subject, but there we go. Okay guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you want lots more tuition on these kind of subjects, do check out Cutting Edge Guitar, my online learning platform. If you have liked the video, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in another video sometime soon. Take care.